My name is Charlie Wells, and today I'd like to discuss the benefits of using social media, specifically Facebook, to reach your customers. I'm a senior manager of Board of Military Installation, and I assumed my current position in December of 2017. Now, when I arrived, I was unfamiliar with the installation and wanted to be able to identify some friction points and some gaps in the services that we provided to our customers, or in this case, our installation residents. At a previous installation where I had served, I had seen Facebook, specifically a Facebook community group, used for just that to great effect. So I decided to implement that same technique here at the installation where I now serve. I mean, if you've read books like The Fifth Discipline, for example, you'll know that Dr. Peter Senge, he talks about flattened organizations and how much more responsive they are to change. So desiring to be responsive to change here at the installation, I decided that maybe this is a good route to go. So what follows today is kind of a summary of the benefits that social media provided to us, some challenges that using social media presented, and some lessons learned. So first, it's helpful if you understand that using any social media is a lot like water. Water can be a benefit to you, or it can be a hazard depending on how it's used. And that's certainly the way that social media is as well. So if you remember that when you're using social media, it will be a great benefit to you. So a couple of things that Facebook did for us is when we started using it, it immediately increased the rate at which we could disseminate information to folks. The base has official communication channels. Getting a younger customer base to use those official channels, pretty difficult. If you use a social media outlet that they're familiar with, Facebook for example, then they quickly seize on that, and it's a more seamless and natural transition for them to start maybe following something on outlets like Instagram or Facebook. So we found that it was very valuable for disseminating information very quickly. In fact, about a month after we had our community group established, we had an emergency aboard the installation. Some of you may remember this emergency. It was all over the news. No matter where you were, it was a false nuclear attack alarm here in Hawaii. And I'll tell you, that community group proved invaluable that day because it allowed us, for just that very short period of time when no one knew what was going on, it allowed us to talk to folks about what they should be doing. So that was invaluable. I'll tell you, we saw community group membership grow 500% that day. And from that moment on, people realized what a valuable tool that could be here aboard our installation. We also found out that, folks don't like to attend town hall meetings, no matter what the topic. They don't like to talk about emergency management. They don't like to talk about, neighborhood security. People don't like to come and sit in a venue where you talk for an hour about something that they feel doesn't apply directly to them. Let's face it, we all like to put off emergency management. For some reason, we think bad things will never happen to us. What we found out, using Facebook and streaming those town halls live, we found out very quickly that people will attend a live streamed event. They'll tune in, they'll turn it on, and they'll sit there and watch for the whole thing. So we exponentially increased town hall participation just by live streaming events. So that was extremely valuable. It also allowed us to identify friction points and gaps in our services here. A couple of examples I can tell you where input from the group directly influenced policy aboard the installation and the processes and relationships that we developed as a result. The first example that I can think of off the top of my head was our base commissary. Every military installation has a commissary aboard, and a commissary is nothing more than a subsidized grocery store that serves active duty and retirees. So our commissary, when I first checked aboard the installation, they had some challenges they were facing. The service they provided to our residents here aboard the installation was a bit off the mark, and we had some complaints about the commissary. Thanks to that community group and the amount of marketing that the commissary was able to do through that, the relationships that were established with our commissary management team, absolutely made a huge difference. Today, I can tell you that the product and the services that our commissary offers folks, 100% better than what it was a year ago. And I'll tell you, that's due largely to the responsiveness of the management team over there at the commissary. So they were able to very quickly identify some issues that or perceived issues from the community, and they were able to correct those. They were even able to start serving or start offering products that were hard to find in other grocery stores here on the island, and things that are kind of unique to the military community. They were able to identify those products and start carrying them. So they definitely increased the product offering to our community aboard the installation. So that was phenomenal. Another area where the community group kind of allowed us to improve our processes was with our privatized housing partners. When I arrived, the communication between the base leadership and the community manager, the privatized housing partners, it was not a solid relationship. And thanks to the Facebook community group that we established, it caused us to build a much closer working relationship with our privatized housing partners, which directly resulted in a much better product being offered to the residents aboard the installation. So I can tell you that continues on today, that relationship management, and it all started with all of that information that we were able to glean from that base community group. So another great benefit that we realized in that. Now, we did have some challenges using social media and some things that were really difficult to get over. For example, the first challenge that I saw personally was that too much input, it can turn into noise. Social media can often be like you trying to have a conversation with 50 people in the same room when they're all trying to talk at once. It can be very, very challenging. It can be very difficult. And using that metaphor, I'll tell you, each one of those 50 people, they think they should be heard by you directly, not worrying about the other 49. So that can be a huge challenge sometimes. And I'll tell you, that kind of feeds directly into my next challenge that I realized, and probably the number one mistake that a leader can make. Before we established that community group, and I should actually say before I established that community group, because that's part of my mistake, I did not build a team around me to help me manage that community group. I was under the assumption that, or maybe I just took it for granted that social media group would blow up like it did. I mean, we went from having 50 or 100 community group members to having 4,000 in the span of 6-8 months. So it grew very rapidly, and it became very difficult to manage. But I was still trying to do it largely on my own. And I'll tell you, before you get involved in social media at all, you have to make sure you have a very strong and very savvy team to help you manage that. If you do not, there will come a point in time in the life of that social media outlet when you will have to shut it down, or you will have to build a team after the fact. And both of those are not great ideas, so I would encourage you to build a team before you explore doing this at all, because teams are just much more useful in helping you to manage it. I learned some lessons from this that I definitely would like you to take away from it. First of all, social media can be an absolute value to your organization. Whether you're trying to build product awareness, whether you're trying to develop processes and policies and you're looking for those friction points or gaps, it can absolutely give you a better outcome if it's properly managed. I would encourage you again to build a team. That was my second lesson learned. Build a team, and it should be a team of supervisors or managers that understand the goals, that understand the character of the organization and can speak intelligently to that. So make sure you have a strong team, a trusted team of folks that has the organization's best interest in mind as they speak for the organization on that social media outlet. And finally, when you build that team and before you ever establish that social media outlet, have business rules. Develop business rules for how you're going to manage that site. Business rules will make it very easy to manage a site, and it will remove a lot of the very difficult decisions that you'll be forced to make in the usage of that social media outlet. So if you're out there today and you're considering social media, you think it may help you in your organization, I can tell you it most certainly will if you use it appropriately. This can absolutely be a change agent in your organization. Please use it, but please ensure that you have a team around you. If you don't, it will be very difficult for you to maintain once it reaches a certain size. So if you've seen this today and you're thinking about social media, I hope this was some assistance to you. And good luck in the future, and good luck with your social media.